My name is Dr. Matthew Donahue. This is the Amsterdam Sign Project. I want to thank the organizers for the Ray Browne Conference. You folks have done a fantastic job in maintaining Dr. Browne's legacy. And of course, I want to thank the late, great Dr. Ray Browne, teacher, mentor, and friend. And I particularly love this notion that Dr. Browne brought up, which is evident in this conference and a lot of the things that we do at the Department of Popular Culture. And that is just this essence that popular culture is the voice of democracy. And I think that, again, this conference and many of the other things that we do here at the Department of Popular Culture represents this democratic spirit in terms of popular culture. For those that don't know, my background, I speak to you as a musician, a filmmaker, a writer, and an artist working within 2 and 3D collage mixed media, art cars, photography, and also street photography. Sometimes jokingly, I refer to myself as a signologist, taking pictures of signs through my travels across the country and different parts of the world. I've been doing this, I think I would say maybe since about the early 1980s. I just absolutely love business signs. It's just something that is really beautiful to me and something that is unique and helps to give an identification of place. The Amsterdam Sign Project falls into the field of what's known as commercial archeology, and commercial archeology is archeology research documentation of commercial businesses ranging from vernacular buildings to business signs and storefronts. There are numerous books related to this field, particularly books focusing in on signs in America, whether it be particular places like New York or Las Vegas or Chicago or Mesa region and so on, or Route 66 signs. Also, for whatever it's worth, for those folks who may or may not know, that our beloved former Department of Popular Culture House in itself was a unique piece of commercial archaeology, being one of the Sears homes. And again, for those folks who may or may not know, quite a long time ago, the Ray Browne sought to have a cooperative effort with the Society for Commercial Archaeology, which is sort of the academic wing and the academic field of study. And for a very long time, the Society of Commercial Archaeology used to have an office space in the Department of Popular Culture House. Of course, that is no longer with us. There are also other areas in which sign culture has expanded into museums, such as the Neon Museum in Las Vegas, Nevada. I guess that you could say I've done 2 previous commercial archaeology projects, one being the Heinz Farm Blues Club, one being the Amsterdam T-shirt project. The Heinz Farm Blues Club was documenting one of America's premier blues and rhythm and blues clubs in the 1950s and 1960s. And the Amsterdam T-shirt project was documenting T-shirt culture in the city of Amsterdam, the souvenir T-shirt capital of the world, where I basically went around and interviewed different store owners and creators of souvenir T-shirts in the city of Amsterdam. So in my travels around Amsterdam working on this project and whatnot, I just was blown away by the amount of signs in the city of Amsterdam, particularly in the central city of Amsterdam. And they're just everywhere. And so I thought to myself, well, I need to come back and do documentation of these commercial business signs in the city of Amsterdam. And why Amsterdam for this particular sign project? Well, Amsterdam, again, has an interesting history in terms of its urban elements, in that back in the day when Amsterdam was being created, folks were taxed on how wide their homes were. So that is why in the city of Amsterdam, the homes are very narrow and tall. And when the people moved out, businesses moved in. And so that is why this particular project really resonates well with the city of Amsterdam. So then at that point, I thought to myself, well, let's focus in on the city center, Amsterdam city center, which is this region here, and see how many business signs that we can capture. There was a strategy in reference to this particular project. This project was quite exhaustive physically. So I knew that that was going to be an intense part of this project. So I ended up doing physical training prior to the project. I was doing 3-mile bike rides and 3-pound weight lifts just to be able to deal with holding the camera, etc. My approximate schedule for this particular project was about 9 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. I download the photos and rest from 4 to 6, and then I'd go out and shoot at night from 6 to midnight. Generally, I was taking 1 photo per sign, unless if the sign was an absolute gem. And there have been 3 phases to this project: but for the photographing project part of it, the editing, the review, and in case of this exhibition, the printing part of it. So the Amsterdam signs by day, and you can kind of see some of the layout in this little shot. Literally, it was basically taking a picture of a sign, walking 3 feet, taking another picture, walking 3 feet, taking another picture, walking 3 feet. And that was done throughout this entire city center here. It was very easy, kind of not necessarily easy to do, but because Amsterdam is very compact and is on this horseshoe kind of layout here, I'd basically walk up one side of the street, taking pictures, and walk down the other side. And so I was taking everything from the square signs, the wide signs that appear in the front of the business, and storefronts. And I just love the wide array of different signs and different images and aspects of the city of Amsterdam that are captured, highlighting such a diverse culture and thriving entrepreneurship in terms of the business community. And I love the homemade signs like this one for the shop called Game Over, to the neon sign here, the Lost in Amsterdam, or the Novo Play neon sign. And of course, storefronts playing such a key role in a lot of this, and kind of the play on different sort of comedic aspects of these signs, and so on. The other aspect then was capturing the signs at night, and again, the same deal. You can kind of tell by this street shot. Again, the buildings are very compact; they're very close to one another. It was literally taking a picture of a sign, walking 3 feet, taking a picture of a sign, and so on throughout the entire city center. And for me, really, the night signs is also really amazing. It's where the signs, kind of come alive and pop, if you will, if they use the photographic expression. And again, I just love all of the different signage and the way in which the signs really help to capture the essence and the vibe of the city of Amsterdam, and how Amsterdam is represented through its signs and also its storefronts. Love this one of Madonna at the Wax Museum here in the central city of Amsterdam. And then the presentation of the signs, particularly for this photograph exhibit that's on display at Jerome Library and Grounds for Thought. What I wanted to do was try and get as many signs for folks to see as possible. So I put them on 12.5 by 12.5 prints printed out. And again, the presentation of the signs represents some of the square signs that are hanging on the side of the buildings, which is kind of very much a characteristic of those signs. They really can't expand beyond this particular style. So I highlighted the square signs, some for you here. And then also some of the wider signs if you're facing the buildings and so on. And again, really amazing array of entrepreneurship and liveliness in the city of Amsterdam. This kind of gives you a feel for the way in which these signs have been presented, going from the single shots that I highlighted previously to these more wider shots. Amsterdam is a forever changing city. This is perhaps Amsterdam's most famous sign, the I Am Amsterdam sign. And it's interesting because the city of Amsterdam is going through many changes. The city is very much trying to curtail tourism. They have moved this sign out away from the Rijksmuseum, which is also kind of in the city center. This sign would gather, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people an hour taking pictures by this sign. I think the city sort of felt it was becoming a nuisance at a certain point. They moved that. They've also placed restrictions on opening souvenir shops, which is also interesting. They are also doing away with the red light district. And they are also requiring and kind of putting curtailing and restrictions on the coffee shops. So one thing I'd like to do maybe 5 or 10 years from now is go back to Amsterdam, try and do this project again if I can physically, because it was quite exhaustive, and see how it has changed. I also want to thank folks involved. Giles Cooper Photography for their recommendations and help and assistance through this project. Karen Stoddard and Eileen O'Neill, as part of this project, was funded by the Stoddard O'Neill Fund. Dr. Charles Coletta and Dr. Tiffany Knoll for their support through the Stoddard O'Neill Fund. The businesses, sign designers, sign makers, the people of Amsterdam, and of course, my favorite home away from home, the A-Train Hotel in Amsterdam, Netherlands, who also provided great input and inspiration in reference to this particular project.